My little China girl, you shouldn't mess with me. I'll ruin everything you are. You know, I'll give you television. I'll give you eyes of blue. I'll give you a man who wants to rule the world. And when I get excited, my little China girl says, oh baby, just you shut your mouth. She says, she says, when I get excited, my little China girl says, oh baby, just you shut your mouth. And when I get excited, my little China girl says, oh baby, just you shut your mouth. She says, she says,
Is this thing on? Is everybody in? Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. We've got a few things on the calendar for tonight. We'll be doing a couple of speeches, and then we have some video and music, and a special treat, all things Gordon trivia, which that should be interesting. It sounds loud to me. Followed by a sing-along, and then open mic. And anybody's welcome to come up and say a few words. Of course, I heard there was supposed to be a mime, but we haven't heard a word from him. For those of you who don't know me, I'm not the maitre d', although I dress like one apparently. My name's Dave Hoots. I go back a long way with Gordon and Kristen. I was honored to have been best man at their wedding. And excuse me, they've been Uncle Gordon and Auntie Kristen to our kids since day one. I'm going to try to work through this. I've been living this speech for decades, and I can't possibly distill it down to a few minutes equitably and truly do it justice. But bear with me as I try, and pick me up if I fall. I hope it will be every bit as heartfelt and mildly inappropriate as my best man speech. No guarantees. After all, it's about Gordon. Yes, hey, Gordon, Gordy, G-Man, Magellan, Mr. Scott. I first met Kristen and Gordon 30 years ago. 30 years. We were kids. Some of you have got kids that are as old now as we were then. Gordon, Brian, and Kevin, the Scotties, had just come to the U.S., and we all met at a pub where Kristen worked at the time. It grew from there like an invasive weed. So Gordon, fresh off the boat, good Glasgow boy, but a little thick in the accent department for the American ear. I think he thought he sounded like Sean Connery flirting with Moneypenny. But it was a bit more like someone reciting a Robbie Burns poem with a mouthful of marbles. It's a brave bright moonlit next to need. So we'd have to defer to Brian and Kevin. Oh, he just said, let's get another beer. And so we would. He also taught us that toast has 2 syllables, cheese, toast, and that we'd been saying ibuprofen wrong all along. It's a biprofen. The hell is a biprofen? So a few years and many plot twists later, Kristen, Gordon, and I would mountain bike just about weekly, generally including world-class Gordy wipeouts, followed by, well, that wasn't good. One afternoon we got back to Kristen's, she'll remember this, and I sat down on the couch between the two of them, and bam! The energy between those two hit me like a ton of bricks. And I realized, hey, these two are up to something. And sure enough, it was true. So fast forward, they moved in together. In Gordy speak, that's a big step. Followed by our trip to the UK, where I had the distinct privilege and amusement of seeing Kristen meet G-Man's lovely family and friends and scurry around side of the house being chased down by Auntie Margaret. And then an epic wedding, and then an epic daughter. And here we are. And excuse me. And what a joy to have been a part of it all. Laughing till it hurt. Crying because it hurt. I can't see the bloody page. That's what sleeves are for. Thank you. Laughing till it hurt, crying because it hurt, skiing till we were shaking, dancing like fools, and applauding all along because it's been a hell of a good run. that so many of the crew here today are friends and colleagues from that time is it's freaking amazing. And it's a testament to what a family we built. We'll talk about tenacity. Clearly, Gordy's accident was a pivotal event. It affected us all, one way or another. There have been some damned heavy burdens along the way, but he never gave up. They never give up. With Kristen and with Claire. And with this village of incredible people, you people. He persisted. And went on to give us a master class in tenacity and success in the face of incredible challenges. He packed back up and fought like hell and carved out a spot in the world with a grin and a generosity of spirit for the ages. I don't know if I can get through this lyric. There's a bit of Foo Fighters. There goes my hero. Watch him as he goes. And goes and goes and goes. I'm proud to have called him a friend, a brother. And honestly, I'm embarrassed to complain if my alarm seems early. Or my day seems stressful. I'll lighten up a little here. I needed a translator or someone signing this or something. So I think you'll agree Gordon's left his mark on each and every one of us. And I'm 100% sure I left my mark on him. As mid-90s, we played racquetball weekly. And he was forever stepping in front of my wicked forehand to receive perfect racquetball-size contusions that made him look like he'd wrestled a giant octopus. But never an angry word after the writhing and pain was over. It's just part of the game. Your point. With a smile. Just part of the game. The hard parts, the fun parts, the wins and the losses. We get up and we keep playing. Playing hard. Now, I'm not going to throw down a G-Man class groaner of a joke in the contest, but I do have some perspective on Gordy's penchant for particularly painful wordplay he and I engaged in regularly. The pun. All of the following are 100% true. Maybe. I'm not saying it was an obsession, but hear me out. His favorite fish was the tarpon. He loved great sense. Anything pungent? It gets worse. A stickler for detail, he was very punctilious and very much appreciated punctuality. You might not have known it talking to him, but he loved punk rock. We talked about travel to India, and of course, he was most interested in visiting the Punjab. In politics, I know he favored not the politicians, but the pundits. His go-to cigar, a Maduro Corona from Punch. I told you it gets worse. Favorite animal, the groundhog. Punxsutawney Phil. Best booby trap, anything involving punji sticks. Preferred solvent, turpentine, naturally. And he loved boxing for the punching. His favorite kicking method was, of course, punting. And his most beloved fairy tale of all was Rapunzel. The groans are right where they need to be. I've got about 40 more, but I'll leave off without further punishment. That was the drum break, by the way, in the song here. This is a small detail, but Gordon would often say, "Oh, that's very kind of you." Not good or nice, but kind. And that tiny little word is emblematic of the Gordon we've all loved. He was kind. He recognized and demonstrated and valued kindness. That's so valuable. And it reminds me to be conscious of being kind every day. The world needs more kindness. So be kind. Stop with the puns, for instance. I'll end with this. So I know my time's up. The light's beeping. A favorite old Clash song of mine came on earlier today. It raised the hair on my neck, and it made me simultaneously smile and well up, thinking of G-Man moving on. I nearly blew my speakers. It's this last bit, and I think there are some here. You old punks who know it will do the unavoidable jig at the end, even if it's just in your head. And I'll never forget the feeling I got when I heard that you'd got home. And I'll never forget the smile on my face because I knew where you would be. And if you're in the pub tonight, have a drink on me. But go easy. Step lightly. Stay free. And you got to jig because it kicks in just after that. I'm gonna dance my way out.
I shall speak slowly, as I am Scottish. Apologies to everyone, as I am Gordon's Scottish wee brother, or as he would say, wee bother. And I know that there are a number of people who will not be able to understand my accent. I know that there are many Scottish people out there in internet land who will be able to translate, but Gordon had the gift of a mid-Atlantic accent. He sounded American to Americans, and he sounded Scottish to Scots. I do, however, promised not to repeat any Scottish words favoured by Gordon, such as gubbed, blutert, or jiggery pokery. In Gordon's early life, our father loved to tell the story of Gordon's tenacity. When Gordon was very young and learning to speak, he pointed at a milk bottle. "Fottle," said Gordon. "No, Gordon, bottle," said our father. "Fottle," said Gordon. "Bottle," said our father. "Bottle," said Gordon. "Bottle," said our father. "Bottle," said Gordon. "Well done, Gordon. Bottle. Now say bottle again," said our father. Gordon looked at him indignantly. "Fottle, Dad." Gordon's love of speed started early with a little tricycle which was not really designed to go fast and had no brakes. But Gordon would take it to the top of a hill, get on it, and whiz down the hill with his legs out and let the wheels and pedals go as fast as they really wanted to. With a skid turn with the sole of his feet at the bottom, he was Mr. Knight Rider. He then graduated to a number of bicycles. Some he grew out of, but most he destroyed. But he could squeeze out every inch of fun out of every one of them. Always getting into scrapes, Gordon always had an excuse. But Gordon was always tenacious, and that need to learn, master, and control the uncontrollable to get a speed buzz. After leaving school at 16 to go to Glasgow University, Gordon became a good student who liked to party like all students. He took up skiing and enjoyed his happiest years drinking and smoking in Scotland with Andrew Ross, Ken McAllister, Donald McNichol, and Martin Wasson, plus many, many more. Gordon's 18th and 21st birthday parties were great affairs, with what I can remember anyway. Gordon and I cruised around in our father's Audi 80 as I was rather reluctant wingman, as Gordon was much more of a Days of Thunder driver than a driving Miss Daisy chauffeur. Gordon graduated university and got a job with OWL, Office Workstations Limited in Edinburgh, leading to a 6-month secondment in Seattle. That secondment lasted 30 years. Gordon often saw working as learning, and Gordon loved to learn. This made Gordon an excellent employee. But if Gordon wasn't learning, he was bored. If Gordon worked for you, he 100% believed in the company, and he just gave you his 100% tenacity. That tenacity inspired me and many, many others. Gordon inspired himself to drive again, ski again, work again, just really live again. Our father was a very strong-willed Scotsman, but Gordon was stronger. I flew into Seattle one time with my family. I needed to hire a car for the vacation. As the vacation was just beginning, I needed to pick up the hire car. We decided for Gordon to drive his van with me, drop off at the hire car company, pick up the hire car, and I was to follow Gordon home. Gordon took me to the car hire place and dropped me off. The scene pretty much followed the car chase movie Bullet, with Gordon in his Steve McQueen Mustang wheelchair adapted van, and me and my lowly Dodge Avenger hire car. We went like the wind around the streets of Seattle, not San Francisco. Gordon took no prisoners. We got back to Gordon's home, and I met Gordon getting out of the van, and he was smiling from ear to ear. So he beamed. Did you enjoy that? Gordon taught me to drive and also taught me how to get left behind. He loved every minute of driving. The thing with Gordon and jokes was that from an early age, he loved stupid comedy. Laurel and Hardy would make him laugh continuously as a child, and our father used to say that Gordon loved to laugh at other people's misfortune. Gordon honed this skill over the years into a wonderful humor, whereby he would tell a joke he knew was not bad, but really spectacularly bad. A real eye roller. And he would laugh and then watch you laugh or squirm at the badness of his joke, which only added to the humor for him and for you. Coupled with a gift for understatement, Gordon was a comedic tour de force. Let me give you a few examples. You can laugh, you can cringe or cry or roll your eyes, but somewhere, somehow, Gordon is laughing with the last laugh. Gordon's Christmas joke he told every single year. One snowman looks at another snowman and says, "Can you smell carrots?" What is the difference between a weasel and a stoat? While a weasel is weaselly recognized, a stoat is totally different. He would end with an "alrighty then." Gordon came back to Scotland with some friends, Dave, Jeanette, and of course his girlfriend, fiance, Kristen Poole, a little while before Gordon and Kristen were married in the mid-1990s. We all stayed at the Scott family home, and it was decided to take a vacational trip down to the coast of Ayrshire in Scotland. So our parents, myself, Gordon and Kristen, Dave and Jeanette piled into our family cars and visited Ayrshire, and then on the way stopped at a little hotel called the Halfway House for dinner, as it was halfway between Glasgow and the coast. Conversation was a bit low at first, so I was asked by my father to tell a joke. I told this joke. I should warn you, it's Gordon standard. A man and his wife were sitting watching TV when they hear a loud knocking at their front door. The man goes and answers the door and discovers a large human-sized fly standing in his doorstep. The fly takes a leg and slaps him hard across the face. The man recoils and slams the door shut. "What happened?" asks his wife, running from the other room, and the man recounts the sorry tale. "Oh, that's right," says his wife. "There's a nasty bug going about." Anywho, another Gordonism. Apologies to any Canadians. We all laughed, but Gordon threw his head back and really laughed. And laughed. And laughed. Everyone else had stopped laughing by now. And laughed. Everyone else was getting worried. And laughed. A doctor was about to be called. And then he just stopped and continued his conversation. That was Gordon. Then, with Gordon looking around at everyone's stunned faces. Years later, I asked Gordon what had brought this bizarre reaction to a fairly minor joke. He said he was really nervous because he really wanted his parents to like his American girlfriend, Kristen, and he had perhaps overcompensated. That's what Gordon always stood for: fearlessly loyal to the people and things he loved, tenaciously learning, mastering and taming the uncontrollable, and bizarrely laughing at life in his own unique way. I would ask you to be upstanding and toast Gordon for being Gordon, inspirational, loving, and corny joking. There you go.
My name is Chad Richardson, longtime friend of Gordon's, for those who don't know me. I first met Gordon in the early 90s, along with all the other Scottish contingency over here. I don't remember the month, even the exact year that we met, but that moment doesn't matter nearly as much as the 27 or so years of memorable moments since then that really defined our friendship. I had a sleepless night a couple weeks ago, and I sat down and started writing words and phrases and memories that best define Gordon to me. And here's what I came up with. He was a loving dad, husband, brother, son, and friend to all. To his coworkers, he was an experienced mentor and leader. He was equal parts athlete and daredevil, not so much reckless as fearless, I think. He was an inspiration for others to try harder and not wallow in your own self-pity. He, he was an amazing guy, an accomplished humorist, spouting dad jokes, bad jokes, puns, and groaners. He was a lover of life, lover of a good scotch, lover of a fine cigar. And yes, even a lover of Nickelback. We saw them twice. It's amazing. He was a determined challenger of limits. He was organized and intelligent. Fiery red hair comes to mind. At first, anyway, then slowly graying like the rest of us. He was honest, genuine, and a generous companion. He was a good listener. I remember his wry smile, his hearty laugh, his devilish grin that made others so happy. And the memories I have with Gordon, I also wrote down. Waiting at the bottom of ski hills, 40 seconds at the bottom of a slope at Snoqualmie Pass, watching Gordon finish his City League ski race. 40 minutes at the bottom of a face in Lake Louise, Alberta, while Sam Howard helped Gordon escape a tree well that swallowed him whole. Thank you, Sam. At least 40 minutes at the bottom of Blackcomb Sedan's couloir while Gordon tried to find his lost ski in a foot of powder on a 45-degree double diamond. At least 40 minutes. I'll never forget the card nights where we all teased each other endlessly and fought hard to win the biggest pots of quarters, dimes, and Chad units. I remember having Gordon stand up as groomsman for Tara and me in our wedding in 2000. I remember taking Scottish country dancing lessons to prepare for Kristen and Gordon's wedding reception. Burl till you hurl. We weren't all that excited to begin with, but it was a lot of fun, I must say. And I'll never forget that fateful day in 2004 when we heard about Gordon's ski accident and the trip to Denver shortly after to offer whatever support we could to Gordon, Kristen, and young Claire in that difficult time. Lots of things changed for Gordon that day, but many things did not. His love of life, his positive attitude and determination, the steadfast love and support of his family and friends, the way his daughter looked at him when sitting on his lap in the wheelchair, simply his dad, just like before. Regrettably, his choice of jokes did not change. One big change for Gordon, however, was being forced to learn new skills and discovering the true power he had to overcome obstacles. He also learned how much greater that power was with the determined help of those around him, especially Kristen and Claire, without whose daily help, everything that followed would not have been possible. Like going back to school to get his MBA at the University of Washington, relearning how to drive, eat, hold a hand of cards, hold a glass, greet his friends in new ways. Gordon was an expert at the steely-eyed fist bump. Figuring out a new way to work to support his family, finding new interests to occupy his time, expand his mind, and share with friends. Photography, reading, collecting fine watches, cigars, Scotch whiskeys, attending concerts with friends, who all benefited from the newly available wheelchair seating option, by the way. And when not listening to music, he delighted us all with his angelic karaoke voice. He loved to barrel down a ski hill at Whistler on a high-tech sit ski, making friends with and inspiring his guides with his quick wit and fearlessness. There was the golf tournament Stuart Jameson and others organized to raise money for Gordon's new iBot, a revolutionary two-wheel balancing, stair-climbing wheelchair contraption. I remember taking a training class with Gordon and some of his other friends to learn how to make the iBot go up and down stairs. Not always successfully, by the way. Sorry, Kristen. But now, I remember the trips to Las Vegas with some of his best buddies to celebrate life and friendship in a city of relatively easy wheelchair accessibility. These trips will continue, but now with 2 less participants, unfortunately. I'm left with one final incredible memory with Gordon that will forever make me smile, and I hope it makes you smile too. On September 6th, we went to T-Mobile Park for the first major concert we'd been to in 2 years. We saw Green Day, Weezer, Fall Out Boy. It was Gordon, myself, Colleen Ondo, my daughter Harper, and Colleen's daughter Nina, and our new friend Matt Spires, all sitting near second base, right in the middle of the field. We sang, screamed, cheered, played air guitar. We waved to our friend Stuart Jameson and family sitting in the first row of the 300 level. And unbelievably, we could see Stuart waving back at us. And at the height of it all, we turned around on our raised wheelchair seating platform to face 40,000 fans behind us, who it seemed were all screaming for us on the stage as we were repeatedly showered with confetti shot from cannons nearby. Gordon and I shared a fist bump as we remembered how long we've been waiting to see this particular concert, more than 4 years. We were forced to skip the show in 2017 when Gordon was admitted to the hospital with a scary infection, another challenge he overcame. I'll always remember that night as being one of the happiest occasions I've ever had with Gordon. It was the last memory I have of him, but it's a great one. And I feel very lucky to have shared it with him and to have shared it with you. You'll hear a song shortly that was the last song played that night, the last song we heard together. It's called Good Riddance, Time of Your Life. The first part of the title is not the sentiment I want to convey. It's the second part, which summarizes the lyrics in Gordon's life. Finally, I'd like to share the following poem that I think Gordon would agree with. Feel no guilt in laughter. He'd know how much you care. Feel no sorrow in a smile that he is not here to share. You cannot grieve forever. He would not want you to. He'd hope that you could carry on the way you always do. So talk about the good times and the way you showed you cared, the times you spent together, all the happiness you shared. Let the memories surround you, because a word someone may say will suddenly recapture a time, an hour, a day that brings him back as clearly as though he were still here and fills you with the feeling that he is always near. For if you keep those moments, you will never be apart, and he will live forever locked safely within your heart. Thank you.
So I first met Gordon in August of 1990 when I joined a company called OWL in Edinburgh. He was assigned as my mentor to integrate me into my first company and to provide a transition from cozy academia. My first impressions were that he was a kind and patient person, but also a no-nonsense and a pretty serious guy. One morning, Gordon was about to update the entire corporate network when he turned to me, grinned, and said, "You know, it'd probably be a good idea if I told everyone beforehand that the network was going away," as he slowly pulled out the plug without blinking. At that point, I knew he had a mischievous, perhaps even a downright scary side. This new impression grew stronger one evening when he regaled everybody in a smoky Leith tavern with a story about how he was late for the train going from Glasgow to Edinburgh. He was late and the train doors were closing. Not deterred, Gordon sprinted to the door ledge, jumped on, and tried to reopen them. After a bit of prying and furiously thrashing on the open button, it occurred to him that maybe he can't open the doors once the train starts moving. It was too late. The train was off, and Gordon clung to the side of the door, peering into the carriage at the shocked passengers looking back at his panicked face as the train hurtled through the dreich Scottish countryside. At the next stop, Gordon casually brushed himself off and entered the carriage as if nothing had happened. In those days, we played a lot of soccer, and Gordon was fast and skillful, tearing up the right wing with his rapid sprints and deft dribbling. Shooting at goal with a blistering shot, he more often than not scored in every game. The first time I saw him play, he scored a hat trick. Then one fateful day, there was a note in the rec room requesting experienced engineers to volunteer to head over to America to help out the office in Bellevue. Not thinking we really stood a chance, four of us put our names down anyway: Brian, Michael, Gordon, and myself. As it turned out, those were the only names on the list. So it was an American adventure for all of us. Gordon was an avid skier, and it wasn't long before we ended up at Blackcomb Mountain in Canada. One of Gordon's dreams was to go down a run called Sedan Kallur. Chad talked about it just earlier. Now, Kalluras are narrow, steep, snow-filled chutes with not much room to turn on skis. Blackcomb touted this particular run as 2,500 vertical feet of thigh-burning hell. There was a long line to get into the corridor with pretty much no chance to turn around if you bottle it. Gordon went first, starting with an 8-foot vertical jump into the mouth of the chute. Gordon made his first turn with aplomb. His second turn was okay, but he took way too much speed going into third, and he tumbled the rest of the way down the entire Kallur. You could see occasional glimpses of his neon pink and electric green ski jacket amongst the spray of snow for quite a distance. He was fine when we all met him at the bottom, just a little shaken, covered in snow, and missing his skis. We used ski poles to probe the area and eventually found one of his skis, but no luck finding the second until someone spotted a tiny ski-shaped object sticking out of the snow about halfway up the Kallur. So off Gordon went to climb the chute, retrieve the ski, and slide back down the mountain. This experience didn't dampen his enthusiasm, though. He brushed himself off, started grinning, and headed back up to try Sedan one more time. So Gordon was certainly addicted to going fast, and this definitely manifested itself in his driving. One morning, Gordon was late, and while everyone was waiting for him to arrive, he came screeching into the car park sideways in his black Honda CRX. We all watched him drift half the length of the car park before his tires gripped and shot him full speed into the underground parking area. So one autumn, we drove down to San Francisco to fulfill another one of Gordon's dreams, cycling across the Golden Gate Bridge. The weather was bitter, and a thick pipe of har hung over the center channel as we hiked to the head of the bridge. Gordon noticed that I was shivering, so knowing I'd refused the offer of a jacket, he quickly tore it off, threw this neon pink and electric green thing at me, jumped onto his bike, and chanked across the bridge. When Gordon was first dating Kristen, a bunch of us spent a grand weekend at Ocean Shores on the Washington coast. Scooters by day and a rundown locals bar at night. Entering the bar, the grizzled locals narrowed their eyes at the sight of us. Perhaps Gordon's Miami Vice color palette of clothing was a little too much for them. The locals narrowed their eyes a little more when two guys went up to sing together, and Gordon proceeded to give a spirited rendition of Sinatra's New York, New York. We often laughed at that night, and the song became kind of a karaoke tradition over the next 2 decades. We were all excited to see a Rush concert at the Seattle Center Coliseum. Brian, Mike Stepney, and I got there early, had a few drinks, and waited for Gordon. No show. We eventually went inside the Coliseum and feared Gordon was going to miss the main event. And his seat was still empty as Rush appeared on stage. But sure enough, in perfect Gordy fashion, right before Rush started playing their first song, he was sprinting full tilt up the stairs, leapt into his seat, gave us this massive Cheshire Cat grin, and turned around to watch the show. It was Rush's Roll the Bones tour. The fourth song they played that night was Distant Early Warning from their Grace Under Pressure album. Now, Grace Under Pressure is one of Rush's darkest albums, influenced by the growing tensions of the Cold War in the 80s. The album's title originated from Hemingway's definition of courage. Grace under pressure. Courage is grace under pressure. That was Gordon. I love you, Gordon. And smoke me a kipper. I'll be back for breakfast.
Good evening. I'm Tom Poole, Kristen's dad. Gordon Scott was my son-in-law. Gordon Scott was a very, very dear friend. I liked Gordon. I appreciated Gordon. I admired Gordon. I admired Gordon for his persistence, his diligence, his ability to live with adversity. And being here tonight, I can see one of the reasons why Gordon was able to live with that adversity. It's a team. Every one of you has worked with Gordon, has liked Gordon, has gone to soccer games with Gordon. It's a team that made him able to do what he did. Now, let me speak just a bit about the legacy of Gordon Scott. There's a couple of good parts. Now, do we have here any graduates of the University of Washington? Yes. Gordon was a graduate, got his MBA, right? University of Washington. In the past, there have been some students, members of University of Washington, who have faced adversity and who succeeded. Let me get this. I'm talking about the boys in the boat. 1936, University of Washington rowing team at the Berlin Olympics. These guys, individually and as a team, succeeded completely. Now, when I read this book, I thought, wow, this is a story that could have been written about Gordon, and maybe that story will be written about Gordon. Anyway, I brought along several copies of this book with me. I'm going to put them out by the front door, and I hope some of you will pick them up, read this story that is probably the most inspirational story I've ever read, and then pass it on to others so that they can read a story that will remind them of Gordon Scott. Now, the second part of Gordon's legacy is every interesting pun that I read for the rest of my life, I will say to myself, God, Gordon would have liked that. Thank you very much. God bless Gordon Scott and his team.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kristen. Hi. Um, I don't have a speech, so that makes me unlike all of these guys here who all had speeches. All I'm here to do is tell a joke and tell you what we're doing because I'm lousy at this kind of thing. But I have to say, I'm very happy you are all here. It just means everything to me. And it would mean everything to Gordon that you guys came, especially you guys. Thank you very much. Okay, so I don't have a joke, so I'm borrowing one of Chad's. All right, here we go. All righty then. Ready? If a cow, how appropriate, huh, Mom? If a cow doesn't produce milk, is it a milk dud? Or is it an utter failure? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for giving me my leads, or I'd be lame up here. But next thing, we're going to have a video tribute to Gordon. Is this a sing-along, Shannon? Shannon? No, never mind. I'm going to read this. Next up is a video tribute and a song that he and I loved. Oh, yeah, we really did love this. And when the song is over, we'll start the trivia. So I hope you guys all brought your Gordon knowledge because I doubt it. Okay, so let's do this. So you want to go over to that tape? Well, come down here and tell them that. Since we're
Everyone
not
should
even-
participate in trivia, and it's over there, the table over there where you signed in. There are trivia answers and pencils. Go get them. It's a multiple choice trivia, and there are prizes for
There
the
are
winners.
Prizes, sweaty hats.
So watch the video about Gordon, and then when the Green Day song ends, trivia will start.
So you can get your pieces of paper over there. I will find a way to use that.
turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. Some make the best of this ass and don't ask why. It's not a question, but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos of memories and dead skin on trial. Go! It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you have the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. Wake me up when September ends.
Hi, ladies and gents. I've been asked to ask a few questions about Gordon. Just before I do, I want to say one thing. I just stepped outside for a moment. I was talking to a friend. I never got to a poker night. Next week, I'm going down for the annual Gordon trip to Vegas. Something came up last year for the poker night. Something came up the year before. So look around the room. Look at all your friends. The next time something's going on and something pops up, make the time. Get to see each other. Figure out what's important. Trust me, if it's work, it'll still be work tomorrow. Make time for your friends. And on that note, I'm going to ask a few questions about how well do you know Gordon? There are prizes. And for a large amount of money, Kristen can be bribed. She does know the answers. Or a nice glass of wine. So grab your pencils and paper. And let's get this going. These are very specific questions. So let's kick it off. Number 1. Where was Gordon born? A, Glasgow. B, Alloway. C, Edinburgh. Or D, Irvine. A, Glasgow. B, Alloway. C, Edinburgh. Or D, Irvine. Where was Gordon born? You're not included. Not allowed to answer any of this. Question number 2. What was Gordon's favorite bad joke? Was it A, the interrupting cow? B, a lemon in an elevator? C, the polar bear joke? Or D, the fork pun? That's A, the interrupting cow, B, lemon in an elevator, C, the polar bear joke, or D, the fork pun. What's Gordon's favorite joke? Really, really bad joke. Number 3. What was Gordon's favorite band? Was it A, U2, B, Coldplay, C, Queen, or D, Nirvana? A, U2, B, Coldplay, C, Queen, or D, Nirvana? Number 4 for all of you Gordon experts out there. What was his favorite sport to do? What was his favorite sport to partake in? Was it A, mountain biking, B, swimming, C, soccer, or D, drinking? Sorry, D, skiing. A, mountain biking, B, swimming, C, soccer, or D, skiing? Question number 5. When he was in high school, which sport did Gordon actually play? Was it A, tennis, B, cricket, C, rugby, or D, swimming? Which sport did Gordon play in high school? Tennis, cricket, rugby, or swimming? Question number 6. Where did he get his undergrad degree? Was it A, Stirling, B, University of Edinburgh, C, St. Andrews, or D, Glasgow? A, Stirling, B, University of Edinburgh, C, St. Andrews, or D, Glasgow? Question number 7. Anybody here that was in Facebook with him? How long did Gordon work at Facebook? Was it A, 6 years, B, 9 years, C, 5 years, or D, 7 years? Again, Kristen can be bribed. More vino. A, 6 years, B, 9 years, C, 5 years, or D, 7 years? How many years was he at Facebook? Question number 8. In what year did Gordon finally become a Yank and get his citizenship? Was it A, 2014, B, 2010, C, 2016, or D, 2013? In which year did he finally get his citizenship? 2014, 2010, 2016, or 2013? Question number 9. Definitely my favorite question of the night. How many beers did Gordon think Kristen was worth for her hand in marriage? How many beers did Gordon think Kristen was worth for her hand in marriage? Are you sure it wasn't how many beers he had and then he went? We all need a few when we do. We're scared. A, 6 beers. B, 24 beers. C, 1 beer. Or D, a dozen beers. How many beers did Gordon think Kristen was worth? Was it A, 6, B, 24, C, 1, or D, 12? And question number 10. 1 second. Question number 10. There is a selection there. What was Gordon's favorite whiskey? Was it A, Lagavulin, B, Macallan, C, Fireball? Hi, Chad. Or D, Balvenie? What was Gordon's favorite whiskey? Was it A, Lagavulin, B, Macallan, C, Fireball, or D, Balvenie? Okay, guys. Now that you've all made your guesses, we're going to work on the honor system. I'm going to give you the answers. And if you got 10 out of 10, raise your hand. You won a prize. We'll also call you a cheat. Okay, question number 1. Where was Gordon born? The answer was D, Irvine. Number 2, his favorite bad joke was the polar bear joke. Number 3, what was Gordon's favorite band? It was Queen. I could just picture him doing Freddie Mercury around the room. Oh, sorry, C, Queen. It was also C on number 2, and it was D on number 1. Number 4, what was his favorite sport? No surprise there. D, skiing. And number 5, what was the sport that Gordon played in high school? That was D, swimming. Number 6, where did he get his undergrad degree? D, Glasgow. Number 7, how long did he actually work at Facebook? 7 years, D. Number 8, when did he get his citizenship? D, 2013. Number 9, how many beers did Gordon think Kristen was worth for her hand in marriage? D, 12 beers. And number 10, his favorite whiskey? B, Macallan. Okay, guys. Did anybody get 10 out of 10? Anybody get 10 out of 10? Okay. Anybody get 9? 8. We have an 8. Congratulations. Winner, winner. Okay, guys, there are more prizes. Anybody get 7? We've got winners at 7. Anybody on 6? Whoa. Keep your hand up, girls. Winner, winner. I love the fact that the younger ladies who had to listen to Gordon's jokes their whole life knew more about him. Anybody get 5? Whoa, hold on. We still got a 6. We've got a 6 over here. Okay, now we're on 5. I'm at 5 right now. Anybody got 0? You can leave or go to the bathroom. Anybody else on 5? Just keep your hand up. Guys, that was definitely fun finding out more about Gordon. As I said before, make the time for each other. And I believe and finally, after all these years, drinks are on Gordon. There is a Scotch bar open, which I'm pretty sure Kristen actually put together. Gordon's not buying it. Help yourself to the Scotch, guys. Raise a glass on Gordon. That's the good stuff. And next up, we will be having a video and a sing-along. So please join in. Oh. Still got the mic, so. Well, no, I was thinking of. Yep, 100%. Ladies and gents, please join in. Some things in life are bad, they can really make you mad. Other things just make you swear and curse. When you're chewing on life's gristle, don't grumble, give a whistle. This will help things turn out for the best. And always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life. Life seems jolly rotten, there's something you've forgotten. That's to laugh and smile and dance and sing. When you feel it in the dumps, don't be silly chumps. Just purse your lips and whistle, that's the thing. And always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life. Well, life is quite absurd, that's the final word. You must always face the curtain with a bow. Forget about your sin, give the audience a grin. Enjoy it, it's your last chance anyhow. So always look on the bright side of death. Just before you draw your terminal breath. Life's a piece of shit when you look at it. You'll see it's all a show. Keep 'em laughing as you go. Just remember that the last laugh's on you. And always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the right side of life. Come on, Brian, cheer up. Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life. Most things happen at sea, you know. Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the right side of life. Always look on the bright side of life. Jesus, Monty Python, get some lyrics. Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life. Ladies and gentlemen,
that ends the live stream of the memorial service. At 9 o'clock, we will be doing an open mic. Please enjoy some of the food. Grab yourself a drink. Hug your friends. Thank you very much, everybody.